In the parenting group, I had a wonderful group to work with. We talked about services that we have. And what was brought up that was really is quite true. We don't have effective communication sometimes to let people know what we already have in our community. So we talked about child care. We have a lot of facilities that provide child care. We talked about transportation. We do have some means by which we can do that. Then we talked about what we needed in those areas. What we would need in order to make transportation so that parents can take their children to school and also get to work. We talked about also child care. And when you said child care, we defined what child care was. We said it should be affordable and quality. And guess what? It's not just for 3, 4s, and 5s. We said birth to 18. But we want another name instead of child because 15, 16, 17-year-olds don't like to be called a child. So we got to get another name for it, make it more friendly and user-friendly. We also talked about crime and parenting. And it was brought up that a lot of times we hear people say the teachers fear the students, the parents fear their children. So we've talked about what is that fear? And what do we need to do to eliminate the feeling that people are fearful of? And I had my own, let's say we all had our own, let's say. But we wrote it down so that we would be able to tackle it. We talked about training. We need parent training. One idea that came up that was very good, we need parent modeling. We need somebody in the community who models effective ways of parenting so people can see it. Because a lot of our parents are very young. They don't have anybody to look at that can model to them how to do it the right way or the efficient way. So we need some modeling. Then we talked about if we had the wherewithal to dream and we were going to have parenting so that we could raise our children to be the best that they can be, what would it look like? And we stated some things here. First of all, we got to have trust. Trust among all of us in the community. And respect. Those are two things. Because if we don't trust and respect, not just from agencies, but parent to child and child to parent, that's important. Then how do we do that? We have to have somebody to go out there to work with people in order to get that done. And we talked about mental health. Most of the time we think that if a person needs help, they're a weak person. But we said it takes a strong person to admit that they need help. So we need to make sure that when people need help, they feel strong enough to ask for the help and not feel that that's a weakness. There are a lot of things we talked about, but I'm not going to take all the time. I really enjoyed working with this process this morning.
We had the education group, and I'm going to use my flip charts because we went over a lot of things, and I don't want to overlook any of what was talked about. And besides that, I can't remember half of what we talked about. But we did, our group, some of that really overlaps with what you were saying, the collaboration between the various agencies and the resources that are there, because we already know that we have a lot of programs that are out there for our kids, especially after school programs, but the problem is that a lot of people don't know what those programs are, or if their child is in that particular area, or if transportation is provided for those things. But just to go over a few that were talked about, awareness of citywide programs or resources list, after school partnering, such as we have one already with Lakeview Museum, foundation of academies, social as well as emotional, classes dealing with self-destructive behavior, because again, talking about the mental health issues. There's a program in Decatur called the Decatur Education Coalition. If you go online and look at that, they're doing some wonderful things there that would be great if our community could get something similar here. Strengthening of our neighborhoods. It was talked about how some of the issues that we keep pushing off to the schools could be helped with our neighborhood associations being stronger units to provide some of those services or resources, or just a place to go to find out information for our children. parental support services, empowering the families, teen reach programs. Spanky Edwards, which was one of our youth in our group, talked about a program that used to be here at the Y when he was growing up, where they could come right after school, they would be fed a meal, helped with their homework, do exercise, and just a place for them to go and other people to interact with that were positive. And we don't have as many of those today as we could or should. Introducing children to the arts. After-school programs through the Art Guild at Lakeview, which is a program that just started in one of our schools. Youth Build, that is for high school dropouts, but it is and can be expanded. But it's a chance for kids to learn more about vocational training and using those skills. Better nutrition and other health needs. Again, better collaboration between the social service agencies. Let me go over some of these. In-source counseling was big. We talked about that, making sure that each school has counselors at the school level so that kids can get the help that they need. And also sometimes the parents need some as well. So doing that outreach to the parents as well as the children. Just a couple more and then we'll, let's see. Holistic approach to health, education, and employment. Incentives, short-term, they talked about short-term incentives because they were seeing a lot of our kids need to have some immediate gratification on what they're achieving. One of the examples that was used is the program that's happening at Manual, where a lot of people in the business community come and review the students' progress report with them. And so they go over the report with them and see how they're doing at that point, and then they make sure that they're going to be there the next time, and then the student gets excited about making those gains as far as their work, so that the next time that that mentor comes back, they can kind of show off what they've done. And so that program has been real successful, and I think they're looking for more mentors with that program as well at Manual. Again, going back to the neighborhood associations, empowering them more, getting them more involved in the various needs of the different community that the community has. Job opportunities for parents as well as students. If there's companies that could somehow provide job shadowing type atmospheres in the summer so that kids can learn about the various career choices and then possibly employing them and or the parents would be a good thing to get involved in. And then finally, a one-stop shop to find out where the resources are. Sandy Burke with the district is currently working on trying to have each school has a library, and her goal is to have a station in there called a resource center so that even if you don't have a child in the school, at least you would know that that school has a place where you can go to find out what resources are available, how you tap into them, who the contact person is, and just where you can go for help. So that's in the works, and hopefully that will come about in the fall.
Hello. In the juvenile justice section, we talked about a lot of things, but we did things a little bit differently. Instead of talking about the different programs that are available, we talked about other things that need to happen. And one time, my pastor said this. He said, if you see a problem that needs to be fixed, guess what? You're it. You are the person who's going to solve that problem. And given the realities that we face in Illinois, we know what our budget is like. We know what, we don't necessarily know what programs are going to be here even 6 months from now. So we recognize that these are all our children. And we need to help in any way that we can to service our kids, to be there for them. So one of the things we talked about, not necessarily relying on the other programs that are there or may not be there, but what can we do ourselves to help the problems that exist. So we talked about the importance of looking internally and looking at nonviolent ways of making change. We talked about getting back to our neighborhood and understanding what kin really is. And maybe I need to be that neighbor who's going to be there for our kids who maybe their parent isn't going to be home after school. So maybe we need to get back to neighborhoods that work. So we talked a lot about different themes along those lines. And one of the things that was really exciting about the way that we had this conversation was, and we did have some youth in our section, and it was an opportunity for a child to sit down next to the mayor, who's sitting next to the police chief, who's sitting next to the city attorney.